Welcome back to Module 3.2, Chapter 3 in your book for internal IT and external IT. So IT for internal stakeholders basically deals with how do we employ IT within our organizations. One of the most common ways that companies use IT is obviously an intranet. They create a way to communicate between various departments. They put forms, they may put project schedules, they may put calendars. It's a way to exchange the information. It's more efficient and less expensive systems development. It's not a very big deal to build an intranet. It's actually very easy. It uses a browser, uses the same standard technology that we just talked about, and it uses an open system architecture. Everybody knows how to use a web browser, so by using these types of intranets where they can click on links and download information, kind of facilitates that communication very easily. Plus it provides a single place to have all of the information. This is what an internal network architecture looks like. You see on the left side you have the web server and a database server. These are all connected via these wires, which are the lines that come straight across, and that's basically your Ethernet. At some point, all the computers and all the terminals are connected to this Ethernet, which are then connected out through a firewall directly out onto the internet. This is a basic internet architecture, intranet architecture. This is just standard Ethernet. There's nothing really special between an intranet and an internet or an extranet, except for the fact that an intranet is basically self-contained within the organization. An extranet is basically, as we'll see, a way to connect two different organizations external to each other. You can connect them, but they have a private network connection between the two organizations. And then the internet is basically open. It's a public system. So what we see is in most industries, companies need sophisticated computer systems to compete. You need quality, service, innovation, speed. They have to respond to the marketplace. Consumers are demanding certain technologies. Consumers demand that you have a website where I can shop for information. Some are even demanding that you have a social media site. Others are saying, you know what, I prefer companies that have a mobile app because I can interface with them better. So these are actually pressures that are placed upon organizations to actually change their technology based on the consumer demand. In fact, government actually does the same thing. The government will actually try and facilitate change by saying to businesses, if you want to deal with the government, you actually have to send your RFPs and your requests for information and even your invoices via EDI. They have to use a particular technology in order to work for the government. So using IT or any technology as the basis for a product or service can be viewed as moving up those experience curves. More experience leads to a set of connected curves versus one continuous learning curves. So you see these discontinuous curves, which you'll actually see on this slide. So you see that these, trucking point to point, less than truckload, UPS package delivery, FedEx overnight delivery, and you see the disconnected lines. There's overlap between them, but basically these are disconnected. So over time, you see how things actually change in the shipping industry. Getting close to consumers is a little bit interesting because it is actually a little bit harder because consumers have a wide variety of technologies that they can use. So it forces businesses to be adaptable to the various technologies. So nearly every type of product can be purchased online, books, CDs, flowers. But one of the interesting things is what happens to a bookstore? How long is a bookstore really going to survive? Look what happened to the record industry. You don't see many places selling records or CDs or anymore. It's all digitized. Books may end up going the same way. In fact, you don't need publishing houses in many cases. People could self-publish. So it's an interesting way how IT has radically transformed an industry. Success is not easily achieved. Amazon had its business viability questioned for a very long time. They were part of that dot-com disaster where people would figure if you were a dot-com, ultimately everyone was going to bust. Where Amazon differed was they focused on their ability to create the operations behind it. They had logistical warehouses, they had the logistical systems in place to ensure that they could get products in and products out very quickly. Advantages are numerous and seem obvious. There's a couple of figures in your book that will actually show that. And also the potential problems are numerous but not so obvious. So here's what they are. From business to consumer, from a B2C platform, okay, you have global accessibility. I can access anyone, anywhere. Reduced order processing. It increases my efficiency for ordering. I can be open 24 hours a day, constantly taking orders. And these things are important for a company because they couldn't do them before. And you can go through the list and go through your book to see the other types of more details of why it is advantageous to be in a B2C market. but it also has some problems. From a technical perspective, may not be reliable or maybe poorly designed. That is a function of the people who are hired, though. If you hire people who've never done it before, you may get some garbage. If you've got people who have a proven track record, this isn't so much of a problem. It may be a cost factor because the more reliable you want a system, the more expensive it's going to be. Logistics is getting products to customers around the world could be a problem. You cannot sell every product that you have around the world. There are regulations and restrictions on shipping certain things to other countries. Personnel, few people have expertise in dealing with a new environment. This is usually a challenge. For example, with social media, what type of person do you hire? And in many cases, people are hiring the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old who's out of college who says, I know how to use Facebook. Competitive response. If you build something, someone's going to build it right away if it's successful. So the question there is, do you be a leader in the space or do you be a laggard and wait to see what other people do? Are you willing to risk that leadership position? And so companies have to weigh that in terms of their overall strategy. Business to business is a little bit different because in business to business, the type of ordering is completely different. You don't necessarily need great aesthetics on a website. It has to be fast. It has to be able to allow me to search for my product, look at inventory. And more times than not, it's about systems integration in business to business. I want to be able to order a product when my inventory is low, so my system sends a request to get more information. So that's all about efficiency and streamlining. Working across businesses is complicated because you have to work with co-suppliers. If I have 3 or 4 suppliers for a given product and my inventory goes low, which one do I order from? How do I make those determinations? There's a lot of rules that go in place. Working with customers in a close, mutually dependent relationship. If they don't have a product, what do I do? Do I wait or do I have to go find another supplier? Building this virtual enterprise or this vertical, you're basically trying to automate the entire supply chain is actually not only interesting, it's also very difficult to accomplish. And can you be everything to everyone? And that's what some of the other companies are trying to do. You see JCPenney in the video, if you had seen the video, I believe it's in chapter 2 or module 2, they're attempting to do the same thing. Businesses have long used IT to reduce costs and time of inter-organizational transactions, reservation systems, and electronic funds transfer. The idea is that all of these transactions can be done automatically without human intervention unless there is a problem. Health insurance companies try and do this all the time. When a hospital or a provider sends a claim, they will try and process and adjudicate the claim as quickly as possible. It will go into their rules-based engine, automatically parse it out and determine whether or not the member has a certain benefit schedule. EDI is a standard by which this data can go from system to system. There are many resources on the internet that I encourage you to go take a look at that will show you what an EDI format is. Basically, it's a very block-oriented type of data set. So if you've seen systems, or if you've seen files, like comma-delimited files or text files, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about data from one place to another, but EDI provides a format for how that data is going to look. Collaborating with non-competitors is a type of working across. It is possible to collaborate with other people in a similar space that are not your competitors. 2 food manufacturers might have the same customers but do not compete with each other. And so they might form a partnership and can do so electronically for purchasing. They can increase their purchasing power or execute, if you create a consortium, it's what's called countervailing power, which is an economic theory by Galbraith from the early 50s. Lack of convenient ways to share information quickly and easily has deterred co-suppliers from working together. If there wasn't enough information available, there was no reason to try and see whether or not there was going to be a benefit for co-suppliers to work together. However, that has changed. The internet does make it easier for business to work together to that end.